In April, President Donald Trump announced a plan to impose sweeping tariffs that rattled the stock market and put businesses on notice.
2 months later, 11 Alive investigative reporter Zach Merchant traveled to Georgia's coast to see how tariffs have impacted a critical hub for international trade.
One of Georgia's key gateways to the international economy flows right through these waters off the coast of Savannah. The ships that move on to the ports in Savannah and Brunswick here carry goods Georgians use every day, and a lot of them, says Georgia Southern University economist Michael Toma.
We are the #3 container port in the United States, so we are playing in the big leagues.
It is a financial engine generating billions in economic impact for the state. But all that international trade makes Georgia's ports highly sensitive to international tariffs that function as a tax importers have to pay on goods they bring into the country.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
President Donald Trump's April announcement of a raft of increased tariffs rippled across the coastal industries around the ports.
It is a source of worry. It is a source of unease.
Thomas Morrison works at a trucking company that specializes in international cargo.
Between 90 to 95%, and that might be on the low end.
He worries elevated tariffs could trigger a decrease in international shipments and a decline in his business that depends on that cargo. And he says the White House's repeated changes to the tariff regime make planning for the future a challenge.
It's hard to keep up.
But others view the tariffs as a lifeline.
How has it evolved over your years involved in this industry?
Slowly dying.
John Wallace is a shrimper and advocates for the industry in Georgia. He says overseas competitors have been undercutting domestic shrimpers for years, driving them out of business.
I worry about the future. I can count on one hand the people less than 40 years old that are in the industry.
Wallace views tariffs as a tool that could level the playing field.
You'd like to see tariffs increased.
Oh, Lord, yes.
The shrimpers and the truckers are a snapshot of just a few of the industries impacted, all in their own ways, by these sweeping tariffs. The ports are feeling the impact. In April, President Trump implemented a 90-day pause on some of his steepest tariffs. That same month, the Georgia Ports Authority reported a 17% year-over-year increase in trade through the Port of Savannah.
Effectively, your importers, people who were dependent on an overseas supply chain, were rushing to get as much of their product into the U.S. before the tariffs were levied on it.
But the situation continues to evolve as the White House negotiates trade deals with other countries around the world. What that will mean for trade through Georgia's ports and the prices Georgians see when they go to the store is still an open question.
The effect on the average Georgia consumer remains somewhat unclear.
Now, some companies, including Walmart, have recently announced they are increasing prices as a result of these tariffs. But that economist you heard from, Michael Toma, he said it is still too early to make broad predictions, in part because things just keep changing.
And you know, Zach, it seems like there's so many moving parts here internationally and of course, right here in Georgia. And it seems like uncertainty is part of this story.
It is almost the core of this story, something we heard so much from so many people. And look, there's been a lot that's happened. At the start of April, the tariffs were announced. Less than a week later, most of those tariffs were paused. Plenty more changes happened, you can see here, just over the following weeks and months. And just last week, 2 separate federal courts reached different decisions on whether the tariffs are even legal. The final decision on that question will likely come from the United States Supreme Court, but it is a lot for businesses and for consumers to keep up with.
Okay, we're going to wait and see here. Zach, thanks a lot. We're going to be watching closely, and you can see a lot more about the tariffs and their impact on Georgians in our Inside 11 Alive Investigates, streaming right now on 11 Alive Plus.